on what side and where and how we're doing it. There was a Conservative member or Conservative senator who put forward this bill, and it was voted against, and that should be remembered. Thank you.
Resuming debate, the honourable member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to raise very serious concerns about Liberal legislation, Bill C-3. This legislation proposes to create a new system of unlimited chain migration into Canada at a time when Liberal immigration policies have already skewed the population growth to the point where public services are under great strain. This is not only bad policy, but, Madam Speaker, I believe this is immoral policy. Liberals would like to make it easier for people who have never stepped foot in Canada to obtain Canadian citizenship. And it is absurd. It is outrageous. The population growth they have already inflicted upon our country has put us in a vulnerable position on many fronts. And the reality is that they want to hand Canadian citizenship out like candies at the counter. By treating Canadian citizenship this way, Liberals will further increase the number of people who are trying to access social programs, housing, and health care. And this is already a growing problem where we have more people than we have services available for the people who are here. The quality of life for Canadians is threatened to be further eroded with Bill C-3. It will make many of the problems in our country even worse. Madam Speaker, I am particularly concerned about the implications this has for our healthcare system, which is already in a state of degradation because of the surge of population growth across the country. We do not have enough hospitals, we do not have enough beds, we don't have enough doctors, and we don't have enough nurses. And the prospect of Liberals wanting to bring even more people into Canada is truly concerning to many. I would like to share with you a story to illustrate just how population growth is lowering the quality of life for Canadians across this country. And it is a personal story of my family dealing with the hospital system last week. On Monday of last week, my dear mother, love you, Mom, by the way, my dear mother went into the hospital for a hip replacement surgery. And like has become the norm across Canada, she had to wait far too long for her surgery date. In fact, by the time she went in to get her surgery done, the surgeon had said the damage to her hip had reached the point of 10 out of 10. That means that my dear mother was dealing with a lot of pain for a long period of time while waiting for the chance to have a surgery that everybody in the healthcare system acknowledged she needed much more urgently than it was provided. But the state of our healthcare system becomes even more clear with the experience we had in the hospital itself. Now, the morning of the hospital, everything went smooth. I was with my mom, the surgeon was awesome, the nurses were awesome, they took great care of her, and we are very thankful for the excellent work that they did. We are also very grateful to be in a country where you don't have to go into debt in order to see a doctor. Very good experience in the morning. I was with my mom in the afternoon and in the evening. Around 10 p.m., I decided that I was going to go home and get some sleep. So I hit the 401, I'm driving east on my way back home, and I get a phone call from my mom, frantic and upset. Now, my mother, Madam Speaker, is a very calm, cool, and collected lady. She does not get upset easily, but she was freaking out, all right? And she was freaking out because she awoke from her rest while recovering from surgery to the sounds of hospital staff moving a male patient into her room. Now, I appreciate that some people in this House might not see that as a big deal, but a lot of people across Canada do. You know, when you are recovering from a surgery and you're in a hospital gown, you're in a physically vulnerable state, you can barely move, the idea that a hospital would move a dude into my mom's room in the middle of the night with no notice, no acknowledgement, don't even recognize this is kind of a bizarre and weird action to take to begin with, it made my mom quite unhappy. And the male patient who was moved into the room was also very uncomfortable with the situation. The only thing dividing them being a thin curtain pulled between hospital beds. And so naturally, when my mom is upset, it's like the bat signal going up, right? I get off the highway, get back, head westward, and I'm back at the hospital. And I go and I speak to the supervising nurse. And after some persistence, I think, Madam Speaker, you know me well enough to know what my persistence might look like. They did move my mom to a new hospital room with a female patient. But I asked the supervising nurse, what is the hospital policy that allows you to have a male patient and a female patient forced to share a room without their consent? And so they printed it off and they handed it to me, and I looked at it, and it was a policy that said, due to overcrowding and under-resourced hospitals, the hospitals in Toronto had taken the decision that they were going to have to give themselves that power. Now, I'm not of the belief that that makes it a good choice for them. I don't like the policy, but you could see very practically what population growth has done to our hospitals in that moment. And I did some research, Madam Speaker, and I found this has become a common practice in hospitals all across Canada, giving themselves the ability to pair male and female patients in the same room against their will because they just don't have enough space. So now a week later, Madam Speaker, I come back to Ottawa after that whole ordeal, and what is the first thing on the legislative calendar? The Liberals want to make it easier to bring even more people into our country, increase the demand even further on our healthcare system, and continue to demonstrate a quite objectively observable pattern of policymaking that would indicate they would rather bring new people into this country than take care of the people who are already here. My mom and seniors like her built this country, paid taxes in this country for decades, on the promise that they would be looked after when they needed it. And we have a series of policy choices being made continuously by this Liberal government to make life harder and harder for people like my mom. And forgive me, but I just can't get down with that. It's not right. Now, I appreciate that the Liberal MPs on the other side of the House may want to dismiss this and deflect. They might want to say this is a provincial issue. Why don't you take this to the provincial government? And claim that they have no responsibility. Well, my response to that would be, maybe that's a message they could deliver to the Prime Minister. He's the one having fireplace chats with the Premier of Ontario. It's not me. He's the one sipping Chardonnays by the fire with the man who's in charge of the provincial government in this province. And if they want to make healthcare funding an issue, by all means, encourage the Prime Minister to do so. But I'm not able to I don't get invited to the fireplace, Madam Speaker. I don't think you do either. Most Canadians don't get to go to the fireplace. What do we have control over here in this House? In this House, we have the ability to control what we vote for and what we stand for. We get to represent our constituents and say to them, we are going to take a stand for what is right and what is good for the people of this country. And with Bill C-3, they cannot even tell us how many new people they are going to bring into the nation. They cannot give us an answer, and yet they expect us to be able to just rubber stamp their legislation when basic information required to know how this affects our families, our communities, the people who send us here to Ottawa, is not being provided by the Liberal government. It is unacceptable. It's an unacceptable way to do business. And the reality is that they're going to continue this approach of valuing bringing more people in instead of taking care of the people who are already here. We will all lose. That's what happens. We all lose in that situation. So my request to every Liberal MP who is here, every Liberal MP who might hear my words, is please do your job. Please take care of the people of this country. Join the Conservatives in pointing out how reckless your policies are in growing our population. Join the Conservatives in pointing out that at minimum, the Canadian people deserve to know how many new people will be entering this country. Because my mother did not deserve what happened at the hospital. I don't think your mother would deserve it. I don't think anybody's mother deserves it. And I think that's a good enough reason to say this legislation just isn't good enough. Thank you.